The alien general's command. The sky above Earth was dark, but not because of the usual clouds or nightfall. No, this was different. An enormous fleet of alien ships had appeared out of nowhere, hovering above Earth's cities. Their dark, metallic hulls gleamed with an unnatural shine, reflecting the light of distant stars. They came from the Galactic Dominion, the most powerful empire in the galaxy. But for the first time, they were not met with fear. Commander Emily Stone stood in front of the massive holographic display in Earth's command center. The alien ships filled the screen, and their commander's voice echoed through the room. Humans, the alien general's voice boomed, sending a shiver through the soldiers in the room. We are the Galactic Dominion, and we demand you surrender to us. You are weak, and you know it. But there is something that belongs to us. Hand over the beast, or we will destroy you all. Emily Stone did not flinch. She had seen the Dominion ships before, but this time it was different. The Dominion had been terrorizing the galaxy for centuries, crushing anyone who opposed them. But Earth was different. She knew they had something the Dominion did not expect. She knew exactly how to respond. The room fell silent. Earth's leaders, military commanders, and strategists waited for her next move. The alien general had made his threat, demanding something that Earth didn't want to give up. But what was this beast that the Dominion was after? What exactly did they want? It's not what they think it is, Emily whispered to herself, staring at the fleet on the screen. Just a sweet puppy. Her words were soft, but they carried a weight of meaning. A knowing smile crossed her face, one that many in the room could not quite understand. The alien general had no idea what Earth was hiding, but she knew exactly what it was. And it wasn't a terrifying monster as the Dominion believed. It was something far more dangerous, but also far more unexpected. On the other side of the galaxy, General Latorian of the Galactic Dominion was not as calm. His fingers tightened around the armrest of his command chair as he watched the response from Earth. He had known humanity for only a brief time, but he was certain that they would fold under the Dominion's might. No race could resist the overwhelming power of the Galactic Empire. And yet, Earth's leaders seemed confident, too confident. You have made a grave mistake, humans. General Latorian's voice was cold, each word dripping with menace. We will not ask again. Surrender the beast, and all of this can end without further bloodshed. Refuse, and we will make you regret it. Emily Stone's heart raced, but not with fear, with excitement. She had trained her entire life for moments like this, moments when humanity's resolve would be tested, and she had no intention of backing down. She turned to her communications officer, a young man named Marcus, and nodded. Prepare the fleet. We're not giving up the beast. Marcus hesitated for just a moment, his eyes wide with disbelief. The entire fleet was waiting for her signal. The alien fleet was more than a match for anything Earth had in its arsenal, or so it seemed. But Emily's confidence was undeniable. She knew her people, and she knew what the Dominion didn't understand: humanity's true strength. Yes, ma'am, Marcus replied, his voice trembling slightly. He quickly began relaying orders to the rest of the fleet. Meanwhile, General Latorian and his commanders were growing impatient. The clock was ticking, and their patience was wearing thin. He had a reputation to uphold. The galaxy had to know that the Dominion was the ultimate power. And if humanity wasn't going to give up the beast, they would learn the hard way that resistance was futile. Your time is running out. General Latorian's voice crackled over the transmission. We will give you one final chance. Surrender the beast, or face annihilation. Emily Stone stood tall, looking at the alien fleet as they continued to loom over the Earth. A part of her had expected this moment to come eventually, but she had also prepared for it. Earth was not a helpless victim, and the Dominion had made a huge mistake if they thought so. She glanced at her team, and their faces were filled with a mix of determination and confusion. They had heard the rumors, the whispers about the beast, But no one truly knew what it was. Everyone thought it was some terrifying weapon or monster capable of destroying entire fleets. But Emily knew better. What the aliens saw as a threat was something completely different. Humanity had hidden their true power, and the Dominion was about to find out why underestimating Earth was a terrible mistake. "Tell them, Marcus," Emily said, her voice steady but with an edge of triumph. "Tell them it's just a sweet puppy." Marcus hesitated for a moment. Then he spoke into the comms, his voice clear and firm. "This is Earth. We will not surrender the beast. You will regret underestimating humanity." As the message was sent, Emily turned to her team and nodded. It was time to show the alien fleet that Earth was far more dangerous than they could ever imagine. The true power of humanity was about to be unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The unexpected weapon. The tension was unbearable in the command center. On the screen, the alien fleet remained perfectly still, like a predator waiting for its prey to make the wrong move. General Latorian's ultimatum had been clear. Humanity had refused to comply, and now there was only one path forward: war. Emily Stone stood at the center of the room, her eyes never leaving the screen. She wasn't worried. She couldn't afford to be. The Dominion believed that they had the upper hand, that Earth was just a speck in the grand scheme of things. They were wrong. "Are we ready?" Emily's voice was calm, but it had a weight to it. She turned to her second-in-command, Captain Mark Reynolds, who was staring at his own console, fingers flying over the controls. He had been with her for years, and like her, he understood the stakes of what was about to unfold. "Almost, Commander," Reynolds replied. "The fleet is in position. The beast is fully operational, and we can launch on your command." Emily took a deep breath, her mind racing as she processed everything. "Good. Hold tight. We're about to show them what humanity is really made of." She glanced over her shoulder at the rest of the crew, their faces lit by the glow of their screens, each of them holding their breath. This was it. The moment humanity would either rise to the challenge or be crushed beneath the weight of the Dominion's might. But there was no doubt in her mind. Humanity wasn't about to go down quietly. Meanwhile, General Latorian's fleet loomed above Earth, waiting for the human response. The alien general paced in his command ship, his long, alien fingers tapping against the armrests of his chair. He had expected the humans to fold in fear. They always did. The Dominion was the supreme force in the galaxy, and every race that had crossed them in the past had been reduced to nothing. "Commander, we've waited long enough," Latorian snapped, his voice cold. "Prepare to begin the assault. Target Earth's major cities. Leave no survivors." His officer nodded, though there was a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. He had seen the same thing happen again and again. The aliens underestimated Earth, and Earth always fought back. But this time, there was something else. He couldn't put his finger on it, but something felt off. "The humans, they are too quiet," the officer murmured. Latorian's lips curled into a sharp grin. "Do not be deceived by their silence. They will fear us like every other race. Now fire on the planet's largest city, Earth's capital. Destroy it, and let the rest of their kind know the price of resistance." The officer hesitated for a moment, glancing at the tactical display, then nodded. The fleet was ready. With a single command, they would unleash destruction upon Earth. Latorian was sure that once the first city fell, humanity would have no choice but to surrender. But he had no idea what was waiting for him. Back on Earth, Emily's team had completed the final checks. The fleet had deployed, and everything was in place. The battle that was about to unfold was unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered. In the vastness of space, it wasn't just the technology or firepower that made the difference. It was the human spirit. "The first wave of fire is ready," Reynolds called out. "We're locking onto their lead ship." Emily nodded. "Let's show them what we're made of." Fire. The command was given. In that moment, Every ship in the Earth fleet unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, sending a cascade of powerful beams into the dark expanse. But the true surprise was yet to come. In space, General Latorian watched in disbelief as the energy beams from the human fleet lit up the sky. The first wave of attack didn't seem to cause much damage. But then, something strange happened. One of the Earth ships, a massive hulking craft unlike anything the Dominion had ever seen, broke through the human fleet's formation. It was huge, its hull made of what seemed to be an indestructible metal. The beast, Latorian muttered to himself, his eyes narrowing. They actually dared to use it. The ship was a colossal war machine, a symbol of humanity's hidden strength. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a statement, a declaration of power. The Dominion had underestimated the humans, thinking they were weak, thinking they could easily destroy them. They were wrong. The beast fired its first shot, and the shockwave rippled across the entire battlefield. The massive cannon unleashed a torrent of energy that could wipe out entire fleets. It struck one of the Dominion's smaller warships, obliterating it in a single blow. Latorian's eyes widened. "Impossible," he shouted. "How can they have such a weapon?" The officer beside him scrambled to issue new commands. "Sir, the human fleet is deploying more ships like the Beast. We are being overwhelmed." Latorian's mind raced as he tried to process the unfolding situation. This was no ordinary rebellion. Humanity had come prepared. They had been hiding their strength, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. And now, the Dominion's empire was under threat. "Retreat," Latorian ordered, his voice barely a whisper, barely able to believe it himself. "All ships, fall back. The humans are not what we thought. We've underestimated them, and it will be our undoing." Back on Earth, Emily Stone watched as the alien fleet began to retreat. The beast had worked. The galaxy had witnessed the power humanity had kept hidden for so long. But this was just the beginning. The real battle for freedom was still ahead. The Dominion had no idea what they had just unleashed, and humanity was about to show them just how far they were willing to go to protect their world. The turning point. The retreat of the Dominion fleet was nothing short of astonishing. The aliens, once so confident in their superiority, were now scrambling to escape the wrath of humanity's unexpected power. Earth's forces had already inflicted heavy damage on the enemy, but Emily Stone knew that this was just the beginning. The battle had shifted in their favor, but the real test was still ahead. Emily's heart raced as she observed the retreating enemy fleet through the command center's large screen. The Beast, their ultimate weapon, had delivered a blow that none of them had expected. For the first time in decades, the Dominion was on the defensive, and humanity had taken its place as a serious contender in the galactic arena. "Report, Captain Reynolds," Emily ordered, her voice steady, but filled with anticipation. "We've caused significant damage, Commander," Reynolds replied, his voice a mix of disbelief and excitement. "Their ships are retreating, but there's still a large portion of their fleet left. They're not giving up that easily." Emily nodded, understanding the severity of the situation. "They'll regroup. We need to prepare for their counterattack." In space, General Latorian sat in stunned silence aboard his flagship, the retreating enemy ships leaving a trail of smoke and debris in their wake. His fleet was no longer in control. Humanity had taken them by surprise. The Beast, he had heard whispers about it, but seeing it in action was something entirely different. How could they have such a weapon? Latorian muttered, his mind racing. How did they build something this powerful? His officer stood at attention, clearly trying to suppress his own panic. "General, we need to make an immediate decision. The human fleet is regrouping. They're preparing for our next move." Latorian clenched his fists. His pride, his confidence, had been shattered. The idea that a single species, a species they had once deemed inferior, could stand up to the Dominion was an affront to everything he had believed. But there was one thing that still fueled him, his desire for control. "We'll show them," Latorian growled, his eyes burning with determination. "Gather the fleet. This time, we'll end this rebellion. Earth will bow to the Dominion." Back on Earth, Emily Stone and her team knew that the next few hours would be critical. The Dominion was formidable, and they were likely regrouping to strike again. Earth had won the first round, but the war wasn't over. "We've held them off, but they'll come back stronger," Reynolds said as he watched the large display of the enemy fleet reforming. "They won't be as easy to defeat next time." Emily's expression hardened. "We'll be ready for them. The beast has shown them our strength. Now we need to push that advantage." She turned to the tactical officer. "Prepare a counteroffensive. We need to strike before they can fully regroup. We won't get another chance like this." As the orders were passed, and the crew moved swiftly to prepare for the next stage of the conflict, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something much bigger was at play here. The beast had been the turning point, but the galaxy wasn't done with humanity yet. There was more at stake than just Earth's survival. The entire balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. The next few days were filled with strategic planning and preparation. The Dominion was regrouping, but their confidence had been shaken. Humanity had proven that they were not to be underestimated, and they had successfully fought back the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Emily spent every moment with her team, ensuring that the next phase of the operation would be just as successful. The beast was powerful, but it needed to be backed up with intelligence, tactics, and strategy. They could not rely on it alone. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Emily said during one of their strategy meetings. "The beast's weapon is destructive, but it's not invincible. We need to target their weak points, their fuel supplies, and their command ships. If we take out their leadership, the rest of the fleet will fall apart." Captain Reynolds nodded. "Agreed. But we'll need more firepower if we're going to take out their command vessels. We'll need to be quick and decisive." Emily smiled grimly. "We'll do it. Humanity has always been underestimated. Let's show them that we're just getting started." Meanwhile, General Latorian had been making his own plans. The defeat had been a blow to his pride, but he wasn't about to let it stop him. The Dominion's forces were vast, and they could afford losses. He would recover. But the humans were a problem. A serious problem. "They've tasted victory, but they're still weak," Latorian muttered to himself. "We'll crush them once and for all." But as he sat there, staring at the holographic displays of his fleet, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling at the back of his mind. The humans weren't just another species. They were different. They had the resilience, the adaptability, and the spirit to fight on no matter the odds. And that was what made them dangerous. "They will pay for this," Latorian said, clenching his fists. "I will not allow a mere human race to defy the Dominion. I will crush them, or die trying." Back on Earth, the countdown had begun. Emily and her team had spent days preparing for the next phase of the battle. The fleet was ready, and they were about to launch their most ambitious offensive yet. The beast had given them the edge, but now it was time to finish what they had started. "We'll fight until the last breath," Emily said, her voice resolute. "The Dominion will understand that humanity doesn't back down. Not now. Not ever." As the final preparations were made, Emily knew that this fight would change everything. It wasn't just about Earth's future anymore. It was about sending a message to the galaxy that humanity could and would stand up to anyone who threatened their home. The Dominion's last stand. The tension in the air was palpable. Emily Stone sat in the command center, staring at the holographic map that displayed the shifting positions of the Dominion's fleet. They had retreated, but the war was far from over. The Dominion was gathering its forces for a final push, one that could either end humanity's hopes for victory or solidify their place as a galactic power. "We've taken heavy losses, but we still have a chance," Captain Reynolds said, his voice steady despite the urgency in his eyes. "If we move fast enough, we can strike before they can complete their preparations." Emily didn't need to hear the words to know what was at stake. She had been through enough battles to understand the gravity of the situation. The Dominion's forces were ruthless, and their technology far superior to anything humanity had ever encountered. Yet, despite all their strength, they had been caught off guard by the raw determination and ingenuity of the human race. "It's now or never," Emily said, her voice cold with resolve. "We strike hard, we strike fast, and we don't give them a second chance to regroup." She turned to her tactical officer. "Prepare the fleet. We hit them where it hurts. Target their command ships, their fuel supplies, anything that will disrupt their ability to fight back." The officer nodded, already tapping commands into his console. Emily's eyes never left the display, her mind calculating their next move. They had learned a lot in the past few days. The beast had given them the edge they needed, but it was their speed and strategy that would win the war. On the Dominion flagship, General Latorian was preparing for the final battle. He had been humiliated by the human assault, but he had learned from his mistakes. The humans had something they hadn't counted on: resilience. And now, they would pay the price for their defiance. "Prepare the fleet," Latorian commanded, his voice low and dangerous. "This time, we end it. No more surprises, no more distractions. We will show these humans who truly rules the galaxy." His officers moved quickly to carry out his orders. The Dominion had suffered losses, but it was still a massive force. Latorian had one goal in mind: destroy the humans and ensure that no one ever dared to challenge the Dominion again. Back on Earth, Emily's fleet was ready. The countdown had begun. They would strike first, catching the Dominion off guard before they had the chance to mobilize their forces. The beast, now fully operational, stood as the key to their victory. But Emily knew that their success would depend on more than just the weapon's power. They needed to be swift, strategic, and relentless. "The time has come," Emily said, her voice steady. "We do this for Earth, for our future, for every life that depends on our victory." Captain Reynolds looked to her, his expression firm. "We're ready, Commander." The fleet moved into position. The beast led the charge, its massive form cutting through space with terrifying precision. The enemy fleet had no idea what was coming. The first wave of attack hit the Dominion's outer defenses like a hammer. The beast unleashed its full power, decimating the enemy ships in its path. The shockwave from its weapons sent shock and awe through the Dominion fleet. It was a devastating blow that left many of their ships in flames, floating aimlessly in space. "We've broken their first line of defense," Emily said, her eyes scanning the battlefield. "Now hit their command ships. We don't stop until we take down their leadership." As the human ships moved forward, their weapons firing in synchronized precision, the Dominion fleet scrambled to retaliate. But it was too late. The momentum was with humanity now. They had shown the galaxy that they were no longer helpless. They had shown the Dominion that their reign was coming to an end. General Latorian watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart by the human assault. The beast was more powerful than anything he had ever encountered, and the humans had used it to perfection. He knew that this was the turning point. If they couldn't stop the human fleet now, it would be over for the Dominion. "We must regroup," Latorian ordered, his voice filled with fury. "We cannot afford to lose. Rally the remaining ships and prepare for a counterattack." But it was already too late. The humans were relentless, pressing forward with unwavering determination. The Dominion's forces were beginning to crumble. In the midst of the chaos, Emily Stone stood at the heart of the battle, watching as her fleet decimated the Dominion's forces. The beast had proven to be an unstoppable force, but it was the courage of humanity that had made all the difference. "We've done it," Captain Reynolds said, his voice filled with disbelief and awe. "The Dominion is falling apart." Emily nodded, her expression grim. "This is only the beginning. We may have won this battle, but the war is far from over." She turned her gaze to the wreckage of the enemy fleet. The Dominion thought they could control the galaxy. They underestimated humanity's will to survive. And now, they'll pay the price. As the last remnants of the Dominion fleet scattered, the victory was clear. The battle had been won, but the war for the galaxy's future was far from over. The human forces had proven themselves as a force to be reckoned with, but there would be no time for celebration. The galaxy was vast, and the threats humanity faced were far from gone. Emily Stone knew that the Dominion was only the beginning. There were greater challenges ahead, and humanity would need to continue evolving and fighting if they wanted to ensure their place in the galaxy. But for now, humanity had sent a clear message. They would never be ruled again. The final blow. The battlefield was a chaotic tapestry of fire, wreckage, and fractured dreams. The human fleet, led by the Beast, tore through the Dominion's defenses like a storm of vengeance. Victory was within their grasp, but Emily Stone, standing tall on the command bridge, knew that the hardest part was still ahead. "We've crippled their fleet," Captain Reynolds said, his voice filled with grim satisfaction. "But Latorian's flagship is still operational. If we don't take it down, he'll escape, and we'll be back at square one." Emily nodded. She had expected this. Latorian was a tactician, ruthless, calculating. He wouldn't go down without a fight. But what the Dominion had failed to understand was that the humans had something far more valuable than weapons: unity, determination, and the ability to adapt in the heat of battle. "The Beast is ready for another strike," Emily said, looking toward the ship's holographic control panel. "But we can't just charge in blind. We need to cut off his escape routes and disable his flagship before he can regroup." On the Dominion flagship, General Latorian gripped the armrests of his chair. His eyes flickered between the multiple screens displaying the destruction of his fleet. The humans had unleashed an unexpected fury. It wasn't just their technology, though. Their tactics were unlike anything he had anticipated. "Deploy the last of our reserve forces," Latorian barked. "We'll make a final stand. Even if we fall, we will take as many of them with us as we can. We must not let this humiliation be the end." Latorian's officers scrambled to comply, but it was clear that their hope was fading. Their forces were dwindling fast, and the Beast, humanity's unrelenting superweapon, was closing in on them. Despite his pride and determination, Latorian couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that this might be the end of the Dominion's reign. The Beast moved like a predator in the night, its colossal form gliding silently through the depths of space. Emily Stone sat at the center of the command bridge, every movement calculated, every second crucial. The enemy flagship loomed in the distance, dark and menacing. "Ready our strike," Emily ordered, her voice calm and steady. "But wait for my command. We're going to take out Latorian's command ship with one precise blow." The tension was electric. The fate of humanity rested on this final strike, and Emily could feel the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. She glanced over at Captain Reynolds, whose expression mirrored her own. They both knew what was at stake. "All weapons are primed and ready," the weapons officer reported. "Give them hell," Emily said. With that, the command ship fired into action. The Beast's weapons unleashed a deafening blast of power, cutting through space toward the Dominion flagship. On the Dominion flagship, General Latorian watched as the enemy ship prepared its final strike. His last hope was their reinforcements, a fleet of stealth ships that had been hidden within the asteroid field just beyond their range. If he could just hold out a little longer, his reinforcements would arrive, and they would have a fighting chance. But fate had other plans. The Beast's attack hit like a hammer. The energy blast tore through the Dominion flagship's outer hull, creating a massive explosion that rocked the ship to its core. But it wasn't just the firepower that shocked Latorian. It was the precision. Every inch of the strike had been calculated, down to the last fraction of a second. Latorian's officers scrambled to stabilize the ship, but it was too late. The blast had ruptured their main power cores, sending electrical surges through the ship's circuits. The Dominion flagship began to break apart, with massive chunks of metal and debris being torn from its structure. Emily Stone watched as the flagship of the Dominion, the symbol of their imperial power, disintegrated before her eyes. The beast had done its job. No one could deny the magnitude of the victory. "General Latorian's flagship is destroyed," Captain Reynolds said, his voice filled with awe. "We've done it, Emily. We've broken their empire." But Emily's expression remained stoic. She knew that this battle wasn't just about destroying one ship. It was about sending a message. Humanity had stood up, not just as a species fighting for survival, but as a force to be reckoned with. And that message would echo through the galaxy. "There's still more to do," Emily said, her voice unwavering. "We've won the battle, but the war isn't over. The galaxy still needs to know that we're not their servants. We fight for our future." Back on the wreckage of the Dominion fleet, the survivors, what few there were, gathered, trying to make sense of their loss. The once mighty empire was now in shambles. Their dream of dominating the galaxy was nothing more than ashes. But General Latorian, though defeated, refused to surrender. Even as his forces dwindled, he knew this was not the end. The galaxy was vast, and the Dominion's influence had spread too far to be easily erased. They would regroup. They would rebuild. The beast might have crushed them today, but Latorian understood one thing. The struggle for control of the galaxy had just begun. As Emily Stone stood on the bridge of the beast, looking out into the endless expanse of space, she felt a surge of pride in what humanity had accomplished. It wasn't just the victory. It was what this victory represented. It showed the galaxy that humans were no longer weak. They were strong, resourceful, and willing to fight for their survival. "Let's make sure this never happens again," Emily said, her voice filled with resolve. "We show the galaxy what we're capable of, and we'll protect our future, no matter the cost." The fleet maneuvered into position, prepared for the next chapter of the galactic struggle. With the beast by their side, humanity had proved they were a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never be the same. The echoes of war. The aftermath of the battle was a scene of both triumph and devastation. Humanity had dealt a crushing blow to the Dominion, but the cost was not without sacrifice. The wreckage of the Dominion's once mighty fleet scattered across the void, remnants of their technological arrogance, now drifting lifelessly in space. But for every ship destroyed, there was a reminder of the ongoing struggle. The war was far from over. On the bridge of the beast, Emily Stone stood, gazing out at the cold expanse of space. She knew the Dominion's leadership had crumbled, but their influence spread across countless systems. The galaxy was vast, and the fight to maintain their freedom was just beginning. "Emily," Captain Reynolds called, his voice breaking through her thoughts. "We've received a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to meet." Emily turned toward him, surprised. The Galactic Council, the very entity that had once dismissed humanity as insignificant, was now reaching out. This was a moment she'd long hoped for, but it came with its own set of complications. What did they want? And why now? "Put it on the screen," she replied, her tone steady, though her mind raced with possibilities. The counselors appeared on the holoscreen, their faces a mix of curiosity and unease. The leader, an older man with silver hair and a stern gaze, spoke first. "Captain Stone, we acknowledge the victory of humanity against the Dominion," he said. "But we are aware that this victory comes with risks. Your species is powerful, and we fear that the balance of power in the galaxy is shifting." Emily stood tall, her eyes locked onto the counselors. "We fight for survival, not dominance," she said firmly. "The Dominion threatened every species, including us. We have no intention of ruling the galaxy, but we will defend our people." The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. The leader of the council finally spoke again. "Then we must request your presence at the upcoming summit. There are concerns about humanity's growing power. It is clear that your species is no longer one to be underestimated." The request for the summit was unexpected, but not entirely unwelcome. Emily knew that humanity's role in the galaxy was about to change. The council had recognized their strength, and now, it seemed, They wanted to control it. But how would they respond to humanity's defiance? Would they see them as equals or potential threats? As Emily and her crew prepared for the summit, there was an air of tension on board the Beast. The crew had fought hard, and they had secured an unparalleled victory. Yet, the path forward was uncertain. Would the galaxy accept humanity as a legitimate power, or would they be forced to continue their struggle, defending their sovereignty against threats both seen and unseen? Emily stood before her crew in the war room, addressing them one final time before the summit. We've won battles, but the war for respect is just beginning. The Council might fear us, but we have to show them that we're not the enemy. We want peace, but we will fight for it. Captain Reynolds nodded, his expression serious. Understood, Captain. We'll follow your lead. With that, the crew set course for the Galactic Council's headquarters, where the future of humanity would be decided. Emily's heart raced, but her resolve remained firm. She had led her people to victory before. Now, she would lead them into an uncertain future. At the Council's headquarters, a grand hall filled with representatives from every corner of the galaxy awaited the arrival of humanity's delegation. The air was thick with anticipation, as factions jostled for power, and the future seemed like a fragile thread hanging in the balance. Emily stepped onto the council floor, flanked by her trusted officers. Their uniforms gleamed in the bright light, a stark contrast to the sea of different species gathered around the table. The representatives fell silent as she approached, her reputation preceding her. The once dismissed human species had proven themselves to be capable of feats beyond imagination. The galaxy was no longer the same, and humanity's place in it was uncertain. The leader of the council stood, his eyes narrowing as he regarded Emily with a mixture of respect and apprehension. "Captain Stone," he began, "you stand before us at a pivotal moment in galactic history. Your victory against the Dominion has shifted the power structure, but with this power comes great responsibility." Emily met his gaze, unflinching. "Humanity's responsibility is to protect its people. We've proven that we can hold our ground, and we will continue to do so. But we will also work toward peace, not through dominance, but through strength and unity." The leader of the council nodded, clearly considering her words. "We shall see if that is true. You are no longer a small, insignificant species, Captain Stone. The eyes of the galaxy are upon you, and your every action will determine whether your future is one of peace or conflict." As the summit progressed, it became clear that the Galactic Council was deeply divided. Some members saw humanity as a valuable ally, a counterbalance to the Dominion's former might. Others, however, viewed them as a dangerous upstart, an unpredictable force that could upend the fragile peace in the galaxy. The discussion continued late into the night, but Emily knew one thing for certain: humanity was no longer the underdog. They had earned the respect of the Council, but they had also made powerful enemies. The galaxy was no longer a place where humans would be ignored. They were now a significant force to be reckoned with, and their actions would shape the future for better or worse. As Emily and her crew left the council chambers, she took a deep breath. The summit had been tense, but they had emerged with humanity's place in the galaxy more secure than ever. The council's words hung in the air. Your every action will determine your future. Humanity had made a statement, and now the galaxy would have to listen. The uncertain future, the weight of the moment was almost too much for Emily to bear. The Galactic Council's headquarters faded behind them as the Beast and its crew made their way back to their ship, but the conversation, the decisions, and the consequences lingered in her mind. Humanity had won the battle, but the war for their place in the galaxy was far from over. Emily leaned against the wall of the ship's bridge, staring out at the expanse of stars. They had taken down the Dominion, but they had also made enemies of powerful factions in the galaxy. Their victory came with a price, and now humanity's place among the stars was uncertain. We've made our stand, but what now? Captain Reynolds' voice broke through her thoughts, filled with concern. He stepped forward, joining her by the view of the stars. Emily shook her head, her mind racing with possibilities. The Dominion may be gone, but the galaxy is full of dangers. There's no going back now. We've shown what we're capable of, but we need to ensure we don't become a target for the wrong reasons. Reynolds nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. You spoke to the Council, and we showed them that humanity is not something they can ignore. But it's clear that some still fear us. Yes, Emily replied quietly. Some want to see us as a weapon, not as equals. But the worst thing we can do is act like the Dominion. We must lead by example, showing them we're not out to conquer, but to coexist. Just then, an alert flashed across the bridge. A transmission was incoming from the Galactic Council. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She had expected their communications to be over for now, but it seemed they had more to say. She motioned for Reynolds to patch it through. The holographic projection of the Council leader appeared on the screen once again, his face grave and somber. "Captain Stone," he said, his tone heavy, "we have been discussing the implications of humanity's recent actions. Your victory has shifted the balance of power in the galaxy, and it's caused great concern among several factions. We want to offer you a chance to prove that humanity can handle this newfound responsibility." Emily's brow furrowed. "What kind of responsibility are you talking about?" "The power you wield," the Council leader continued, "is not something to be taken lightly. The Council is considering a proposal to create a joint task force, one that would include representatives from various species, including humanity. This force would act as peacekeepers and ensure that no one species becomes too powerful or destabilizes the galactic order." Emily's stomach twisted. A peacekeeping force. It seemed like a good idea on the surface, but she knew the Council had their own motives. They were afraid of humanity's strength, afraid of what they had seen the beast do to the Dominion. This wasn't about peace, it was about control. "I'm not sure I can agree to that," Emily said carefully, her voice steady. "Humanity didn't fight to be ruled by anyone, and we didn't earn our place by standing in line. We fought for our survival, and now we must chart our own course." The Council leader's expression hardened. "We understand your stance, Captain. But understand this, if you refuse, there will be consequences. You've proven your power, and that power cannot be ignored. We will not allow one species to dominate the galaxy." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Emily standing in stunned silence. Reynolds glanced at her, his face filled with concern. "What do we do now?" Emily took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. She had expected the Council to be wary of humanity's rise, but she hadn't anticipated such a direct ultimatum. This wasn't just about the future of the beast or her crew. This was about the entire human race. If they refused the Council's offer, they could face even more resistance. If they agreed, they risked losing their sovereignty. "We've shown the galaxy our strength," Emily said, her voice firm. "Now we need to show them that humanity can be a force for good. But we can't let them control us. We won't be anyone's puppet." Reynolds nodded. "We'll stand with you, Captain. Whatever you decide, we're with you." The ship hummed quietly as Emily stared into the vastness of space. The Council had made their move. Now, it was time for humanity to decide how they would move forward. The galaxy had watched their victory. It had witnessed their power, their resolve, and their refusal to back down. But would they be able to prove that they could be more than just warriors? Could they rise above their enemies and find a way to lead without conquering? Emily Stone had no answers, but she knew that humanity's future rested in their hands, and she was determined to see it through. As the beast traveled deeper into space, the crew knew that the road ahead would be anything but easy. They had earned respect, but they had also earned the suspicion of many factions. The Council's proposal would shape the future of humanity's interactions with the galaxy. Would they become part of a larger force, working for peace, or would they stand alone, carving their own path through the stars? As Emily looked out once more into the darkness of space, the answer seemed unclear. But one thing was certain. Humanity had changed the course of history. And now, the galaxy would have to live with the consequences.